What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, the podcast that has a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and even the dumbest takes on the world of WWE, AEW, the NFL, and the wide world of wrestling, of sports in general. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's show. Welcome to episode number 24. And the topic we're about to discuss in this episode, I gotta be honest with you, I forgot it was happening this past weekend. I totally forgot. It happens. Even though it does happen, I gotta be honest. It was total shit. I'm just gonna lay it on the line right there. What I'm about to review to you was total shit. I'm gonna talk about it, discuss it, and tell you what happened, so you don't have to. So anyway, today we got a good show for you all because we're gonna be talking about Backlash, not just WWE Backlash. WrestleMania Backlash. Yeah, they didn't have to have an all regular Backlash like they did back in the day, like last year. No, they had to do freaking WrestleMania Backlash for whatever the frick reason that they had to. I gotta be honest, whoever thought this was a great idea to put WrestleMania in the Backlash pay-per-view name, they need to be fired. They seriously need to be fired, because if they really want to make Backlash feel like some kind of extra WrestleMania of sorts, have some actual matches with actual storytelling and characters and whatnot in them, because what I saw Sunday night certainly ain't it, Chief. It certainly wasn't it. And I gotta be honest with you, it became very annoying to hear the announcer say WrestleMania Backlash all over again, and it got on my nerves so much. It really did. But yeah, WrestleMania Backlash, now it's getting stuck in my head. It really is getting stuck in my head. I did not enjoy the show. I did not enjoy this show. It was pretty boring to watch it. I actually watched it after it was after it finished, because I do actual stuff with my life, even though I don't really have much of a life, but I do real life stuff. But anyway, I do want to say though, before we get into the real meat of the show, that the NBA playoffs are starting, and I saw a bit of the play-in tournament that happened tonight on Tuesday night when I'm developing this. The Boston Celtics just beat the Washington Wizards, and now the Wizards have to go to Indiana to face the Pacers, who destroyed the Charlotte Hornets. And again, I don't know why people are hating this idea of the play-in so much. Again, I'm not trying to be a hard-on defender of the play-in tournament, but again, it creates that interesting dynamic of every team that's 6 and above trying to avoid the play-in, and the teams that are desperately trying to get in the playoffs. It creates that intensity. It really creates that intensity, that end of season drama. And what we saw tonight, well, considering all the games were blowouts, but that was only in the East. Tomorrow, or on Wednesday, on ESPN with the West, that should be interesting. Those games, all division game playing games, that's going to be an interesting bunch, especially with the Warrior and Laker playing game. That's going to be interesting. I'm pulling for an upset. I'm pulling for an upset for the Warriors. It's gonna be a tough, grinded out long shot, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. It's just gonna be an interesting dynamic, and I'm excited. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. But that's my thoughts on the play-in so far. That's my thoughts on the play-in. Didn't expect blowouts the whole way the first night, and we'll see what happens the second night with the West. And well, the playoffs are starting, and I don't know if I can be too excited, to be honest with you, because again, I haven't really paid too much attention to this NBA season, because in recent years I've kind of grown more to like the NFL. I really have, despite kind of how gone downhill the quality of play has been. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much my little spiel on the play-in. So now, before we get into the main topic, again, I want to plug the show, as always, before we always begin each episode. So make sure you follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. Make sure to watch me on the video side of things here on YouTube. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, do all that fancy stuff so you'll be notified of each and every episode that goes up on the YouTube. If you want to hear me, my beautiful voice, on the road or on a walk, make sure to do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. So let's get into the topic of today's episode, WrestleMania Backlash. And there I go again, talking about this stupid name, WrestleMania Backlash. Your WWE Backlash 2021, and as you can tell by the title of this episode, your Raw May 17th, 2021 reviews, as in you're getting a 2-in-1 a special in this episode. And you're probably wondering, why am I reviewing Monday Night Raw after everything that I said about the show, how terrible it was, how bad this show was, from the writing, the commentators, the wrestlers? Why am I talking about Monday Night Raw? Why am I reviewing this shit show? Well, we'll get into that in a second. We'll get into this review in a second. And throughout this Backlash review, we're gonna be talking about Monday Night Raw, some like highlights and stuff, because it connects with Backlash. It connects with some of these matches that happened on this pay-per-view. So for now, let's get into the Very Cold Lasagna review of WWE Backlash 2021, the not WrestleMania Backlash review. So we start off the night with a kickoff match between the United States Champion Sheamus going up against Ricochet. Ricka, nobody gives a shit. So this was the last minute addition to the card. Sheamus was looking for another challenger willing to step up to his open challenge. And of course, Ricochet came out. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody cared. And Sheamus won. And they faced off again in a rematch the next night on Monday Night Raw in a non-title match this time. And Sheamus still won. And nobody still cared. So, yeah. Sheamus is still champion. I mean, Sheamus is decent, but I just don't care for Ricochet. So then we open the show. We open the main show with some Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson-esque Seattle She-Hulk action with your Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley defending her title against Asuka, the former champion, and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. And the reason why Charlotte Flair is in this match, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that WWE is trying to tell a story of Charlotte being the opportunity, and her trying to say that she is robbed of her title match at WrestleMania, and she wants to be the best out of everyone, or whatever spiel she was on. And she attacked the referee, and Sonya Deville reinstated her if Charlotte apologized, and she rewarded her with the title match, being in the title match at Backlash. Some weird shit like that. And I'm just here thinking and looking at some of these highlights and seeing Charlotte and WWE are full of shit. They're some full ass bullshit. She ain't no opportunity. She's just there on a silver platter because Ric Flair's daughter. So it was very hard for me to care about this match, and the whole match itself, it was so bad. It was so boring. And I can give one positive about it. Rhea Ripley actually managed to keep her title they actually booked Rhea Ripley to retain the title for now, at least. So she hit the Riptide, her finisher, on Asuka. Asuka took Flair out of the equation with like this kick off the apron, and Charlotte once she found out that she lost the match, she was just like in disbelief. She was stunned that, I can't believe I lost the match. Oh my god. And Rhea Ripley was just like like a freaking kindergartner in elementary school. Like, yeah, that's your Raw Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. And I don't know what it is about Rhea Ripley that I don't like on the main roster. It's just something that always, every time I see highlights of her, like, I always want to like close YouTube. I really do. I don't know if it's her bad promos, like her lack of clarity between if she's a face or if she's a heel, no character. I don't want to like get too deep into, you know, the Seattle, you know what. But something's gonna really improve with Rhea Ripley. She has to improve. I know she said she is taking acting classes, so that's a start. But hopefully those acting lessons pay off. She needs to improve big time, or she's just gonna be another one of those women that's just there on the main roster, and she's gonna fall in hard times if she doesn't improve fast. So then we get into the Smackdown Tag Team Championship between Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, going up against Rey Mysterio and Dominic. So the father and son duo are trying to become the first tag team champions. So earlier in the night, the Dirty Dogs, as Ziggler and Roode were named, they attacked Dominic backstage, and Rey found him in the trainer's room, and well, Dominic was still kind of hurt to go at it, so Rey Mysterio had to go it alone. I gotta admit, for all the non-existent build-up that this match had, they told a pretty decent story here. I don't know. I guess I just like Rey Mysterio that much. So Rey Mysterio managed to fight Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for as long as he could, but every time he tried to fight them off, Ziggler and Roode were always there to keep him down, and every time Rey tried to tag in Dominic wasn't there. He was always remembered that Dominic's in the locker room, hurt. And just as Rey Mysterio was about to lose hope, Dominic, who's still less than 100%, still came out and evened the score, even though he's still hurt. And then slowly but surely, the father and son duo overcame the odds and overcame their physical well-being, their less than 100% physical well-being, as Rey Mysterio hit the 619 on Roode, tagged in his son. Dominic hit the frog splash on Bobby Roode to win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. That was actually a pretty decent match. And I gotta admit, they had me on edge with this one, despite the build, despite the non-existent build. Again, I guess it's because I love Rey Mysterio, and well, Dominic still needs work. He really still needs work. So congrats to Rey Mysterio and Dominic on becoming the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We'll just see what they do with it next. Next up, we had zombies.
Who's to say we're not all zombies?
Yeah, we literally had zombies. And this was like literally the major talking point out of Sunday's pay-per-view. Zombies. I guess the major takeaway from this pay-per-view was not just zombies, but the people reviewing the show. Like old man Jenkins says, who's not to say we're all zombies? And I guess I can say that who's not to say we're all mindless wrestling reviewing zombies that continually watch the shit even though it's so bad that we talk about it so much. I don't know. So let's talk about the zombies, because I gotta give my thoughts on it. Was it stupid? Yeah, It really, really was stupid. Like, when I first saw it, like, in that John Morrison segment, I was like, wait, is this like is this going to be part of the lumberjack match? And then when it was, I was just like, I really was laughing at how bad it was. Like, I wasn't like super mad, like, why are you doing this? Like, this is not pro wrestling. Like, what are you doing, you assholes? Like, I wasn't like that mad. I wasn't like, you know, like super casual mad or like super smarky mad at this. It's just like, you know, all I could do, because this is so bad, it was just like laugh at how bad this is. And that's just my general reaction. That's just my general reaction. So was it absolutely as horrible or terrible as many people turned out to me? Well, again, that depends on like your standards, your expectations in pro wrestling. For me, I just want wrestling to be good, and well, this was very bad, but not to the degree that everyone's out to making it to be. Like, why are people getting so worked up with this zombie bullshit? And yes, this was turned out to be a plug for Batista's new movie, Army of the Dead. And by the way, he also did the narration for the intro to Backlash, and it was like the shameless plug, super unnecessary. It's like, it could have been done without the Army of the Dead stuff, and well, so it could have been this lumberjack match, but I digress. So I don't hate it as much as a lot of people did, and I could tell by like some of the reviews that I've seen, like J Rants and Zubair's and TWRP's, like their watch along, and there's a couple others that I probably didn't name, but it was bad. It was really, really bad. But again, I don't hate it as much as everyone else does. It's just laughably whatever, how you say it, laughably bad. So aside from that, it just didn't make sense. It really, really didn't make any sense for the wrestlers involved. Like, especially the Jizz, you know, being this Hollywood scaredy cat heel, in whatever Damian Priest is trying to be as this babyface. Like, he still doesn't have a definable character yet on the main roster. So speaking of the two wrestlers, well, they were struggling to get away from the zombies. And Damian Priest, this is the same dude that won the stipulation, that got to pick the stipulation on Monday Night Raw. He picked the lumberjack match, and yet he doesn't even have the advantage. Nobody has the advantage here. He didn't even know zombies were gonna be the lumberjacks. Like, dude, that is depressing. You were going into this match having the advantage, and yet here you are, like, struggling to fight the Miz and in a match you picked. Congratulations, Damian Priest, you are stupid. So the Miz and Damian Priest are trying to fight off these zombies and each other, and the zombies abduct John Morrison, and Priest hits his finisher. He quickly leaves, and the Miz gets gangbanged by Batista's Army of the Dead. So yeah, this was a terrible match, and apparently the Miz tore his ACL. So for as much as I hate the Jizz, like, as a wrestler, I hope he has a speedy recovery, and like, if that torn ACL is legit, then damn. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if WWE, I don't know. It's just a bad, like, injury to have. So turns out that WWE also did another lumberjack match with like actual wrestlers as the lumberjacks the next night between Damian Priest and John Morrison, and Damian Priest won. And can Damian Priest finally move on to something else now that he already beat Morrison again for the millionth time, and Miz is on the sidelines? Apparently, can he move on? Like, just do something else now. Just do something else. So then we had the Smackdown Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair and Bayley, and I don't know. I was not invested into this at all. And I'm just wondering the whole time, like, for as much as I don't like Sasha Banks, like, I still don't get why WWE's leaving her off TV when Bayley is getting the title shot at Backlash. Like, what are they doing? What is the plan here? Like, Sasha, in her post WrestleMania interview on SmackDown, she's just like, and then she just walks off. And then, like, literally the next segment afterwards, Bayley claims she's going to be the next in line. She's going to be the one coming after Bianca Belair's title. And a few days later, boom, she gets the match at Backlash instead of Sasha Banks. Like, is that really all it takes to get a title match nowadays? It's depressing. That's disappointing. But wait, there's more. The feud eventually became centered around Bianca Belair's hair. And Bianca told Bayley not to touch her hair. This is your SmackDown Women's Champion that has charisma. That, well, I know some people are going to shit on her for her, you know what. But she has the charisma. Well, the EST thing could still be fleshed out. I know EST means fastest, strongest, quickest, bestest. Like, I really think it should be fleshed out a little bit more. But she has potential. She does have potential. I just wish WWE would expand on it more, please. So, just like with this one, I just mostly didn't care. Because there's just so little to care about. Especially with Bianca Belair and Bayley. Having not much momentum going for them. So Bianca Belair counters like a second Bayley to Bayley attempt from Bayley with a fruit roll up. Yes, we're having a fruit roll up finish on pay-per-view to win the match. Although this fruit roll up victory came with super long braided flavor. Yeah, Bianca Belair used her braid to assist in this fruit roll up victory. So I guess this is WWE's way to set up a rematch between the two at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Oh yeah, they're doing Hell in a Cell in June. They're doing it next month instead of October. Like, why? I don't understand why. Apparently, from what I heard, is that they're planning to have fans back in July. So they thought it was a good idea to move Hell in a Cell 4 months early. That I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand. Let me know why they're moving Hell in a Cell in June from October. If they're having fans back in July for like Money in the Bank, and then if this is like a permanent thing, like this is like the actual return of fans, then wouldn't it make sense to keep Hell in a Cell in October? I don't get it. I really don't get it. I just find this as a way to devalue a really iconic match type even more. As if it wasn't already devalued even more. So, that was your SmackDown Women's title match. I really could care less. There was nothing much to it. So now we have the WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman. Now, this was a match that I cared about. This was a match that at least you, the casual, wanted to see. 3 muscular big men, 3 heavyweights, battling out in a hoss fight. A big all-out brawl between 3 big men. And that's exactly what we got Sunday night. While it was short, and it should stay that way, it was simple and effective. Not too fast, not too slow, but it was just well-paced and simple, yet effective. So McIntyre and Lashley teamed up to take out Braun Strowman early on, and then they took him out with this very powerful double vertical suplex, and then they went after each other because they're enemies. And I noticed McIntyre was reluctant to do that suplex spot with Lashley. He's like, no, you're my enemy, but it's like, do it, damn it, do it, pal. So much later in the match, McIntyre and Lashley were brawling, and Strowman actually dove onto Drew and Bobby. And from the angle that I saw it, it looked like Braun Strowman did a swanton bomb from the ring apron. He ran and did a swanton from the ring apron, and that was actually one of the very few cool things I've seen from him in forever. It was actually pretty cool. So we go back into the ring. All three men are fighting. Drew hits the zigzag onto Braun, and I'm like, damn, Drew, he's bringing out the full bag of trickery. He does a better zigzag than Dolph Ziggler. And that's Dolph's finishing move. Damn it. So Bobby breaks up that pin attempt, and much later throughout the match, McIntyre sends Lashley through the stage, and that took him out of the matchup. So it was just Strowman and McIntyre brawling it out like big men, in like Baszler and King K. Rool battling out in Smash Bros. Ultimate. They were fighting each other and trying to like get the upper hand on one another. So McIntyre hits this weird looking move on Strowman for a 2 count, and then he tries to hit the Claymore on the outside, but Strowman reverses it and clutches McIntyre for a powerbomb through the announce table. So that was pretty cool. So eventually we get to the finish. McIntyre hits the Claymore on Braun Strowman, but out of nowhere, Lashley is like all healed up. He yeets McIntyre out of the ring, and he hits the spear on Braun Strowman. 1, 2, 3, retains the title. That was a good match. This was actually the only good match on the show, because it never felt like it dragged. It felt like you were engaged for, I think it was like 10 or 8 minutes. I don't know. I don't remember. You had 3 heavyweights fighting it out for the top title in WWE, and they're showing all feats of strength to prove why they wanted it badly. And I like the finish too. I really like the finish with Lashley smartly biding his time. And yes, he went through the stage, and even though he could have been fully recovered about like, I think it was like 3 or 5 minutes after McIntyre threw him through that LED panel. And instead of just going straight for the kill, he waited it out. He waited for the right opportunity. He was an opportunistic champion, and he swooped in, stole another chance for McIntyre to take the title, and he got the victory. But unfortunately for said victory, for much said dominant victory, it got half wiped away, because the next night on Raw, he lost this open non-title challenge to Kofi Kingston. Yes, this same Kofi Kingston that WWE jobbed out to Brock Lesnar in Kofi Kingston's losing WWE title match nearly 2 years ago, and has done nothing but drive the New Day gimmick into the grounds of stupidity with Xavier Woods since then. And I understand, but the people that were expecting Brock Lesnar or John Cena in this open challenge spot, don't kid yourselves. Don't kid yourselves. WWE is saving them for fans. WWE is saving them for fans. If you think they're coming back for this Thunderdome bullshit, don't kid yourselves. Do not kid yourselves. They're not going through that empty arena experience again. So I honestly wouldn't have minded Kofi being in this spot if he lost, like in some kind of fashion, not like the Brock Lesnar type fashion, or in the very least pick someone else. Pick someone else to be in the spot. Like, where's Jeff Hardy? Or where's Keith Lee? Do they have really no one else besides Kofi Kingston? I mean, I know people were pissed. They were pissed about this. I mean, then again, may amount to nothing next week on Raw. But the fact still remains, WWE still does this 50-50 bullshit, and it's baffling. Like, why do you have your WWE champion dominate on pay-per-view, and then the next night he loses to a glorified jobber? Like, why? This doesn't make any sense at all. Then your main event of Backlash, you had the Universal Champion Roman Reigns defending his championship against, of all people, Cesaro. Yeah, in 2021, Cesaro is finally getting a World Championship match. this is what we come to with challengers for the head of the table. You're really hard-headed, WWE. You really are. How dare you disrespect the head of the table? Come on, man. So before the match, Jimmy Uso's still trying to convince his brother Jay to get back on his side and not be Roman's errand boy, but Jay wouldn't bite. And then right before Roman was about to make his entrance, Roman told Jay to stay behind because he didn't like Jay's pre-match voice. He didn't like the tone of it because he thought he was, kind of like being his brother. He thought he should go find him instead of being out there with Roman. So Roman decided to go alone this time, and he made the good choice. So we get the match. Cesaro gets a few uppercuts early before he takes a dive that injures his arm, which became the focal point for the match. So Roman Reigns tries to get Cesaro to tap out to his injured arm on multiple occasions. While taunting him, he puts him in an arm bar, but Cesaro breaks out of it. Cesaro hits a few uppercuts, but he uses his injured arm, which hurts it even more. He tried to hit a neutralizer, but Roman countered it. So near the end, we're at the end. Roman locks in the guillotine twice. Cesaro broke out of it both times, but Roman tried to, hit him as hard as he can so he can make Cesaro pass out on the third attempt of the guillotine, and he passed out. He did. So Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship against Cesaro, and I don't know. I liked it. I like Roman Reigns, but I was so bored with this match. I was nearly put to sleep. Not even Roman Reigns or Pat McAfee's good ass commentary, which by the way was getting cut off at times that night for whatever reason. I noticed McAfee was kind of going off script as usual, a bit, saying terms that he shouldn't be saying, or at least in Vince's mind that he shouldn't be saying. But it's Pat McAfee. You can't control him. You can't yell in his ear. But anyway, not even those two could get me excited for this match. And you know why? Cesaro, good athlete, good pure wrestler, but athleticism will only get you so far in pro wrestling, in this sports entertainment world. He doesn't have anything to offer. He doesn't have anything to offer in the last decade. He has no character. He hasn't improved his character, no personality, and especially god-awful mic skills. You should really take some lessons from Sami Zayn and Apollo Crews. Look at what those two have done. They've taken classes on how to improve their character, how to improve their promos, and look where they are now. So improved. I don't know what's so hard with Cesaro to do that. So the only reason why Cesaro even had this Universal Championship match was, well, one, there were no challengers left, and two, the WWE went with the notion of, well, Cesaro worked hard. That was the basis of this match. Please, all the wrestlers that worked in WWE worked their asses hard to be even there in the first place, and yet this is the basis of the storyline. This is actually the basis of all the promos in WWE. It's like, oh, I worked my ass off to be in WWE, and yet I'm being treated like shit. That's pretty much the basis of every pipe bomb promo that happens on Talking Smack or Raw Talk nowadays. Pathetic. Really pathetic. And after the match, Jey Uso came out to crown Roman as the tribal chief and attacked Cesaro afterwards before Seth Rollins came out, who looked like he was going to have a stare down with Roman, maybe save Cesaro, but no, instead Cesaro attacks it's not Cesaro. Seth Rollins attacks Cesaro and further injures his arm with the steel chair. So Seth Rollins ends Backlash standing tall over Cesaro, and yeah, that was Backlash 2021, guys. So I guess they're setting up towards Rollins versus Cesaro inside Hell in a Cell, and I just don't care. And why is Seth Rollins wearing stupid ass suits now ever since he came back? It's like, why? What what did your marriage with Becky Lynch do, man? What did it do to you that made you decide to wear stupid ass suits every week? I don't get it. I really don't. So that was Backlash 2021. Overall, really boring show. Really not worth 3 hours of your time. I mean, unless you want to see like really stupid zombie shit. But if you want to see zombie shit, I'd just rather go play Black Ops Zombies or Black Ops 2 Zombies, or get your fill on that on YouTube or some shit. But other than that, really bad show. Really bad show. Really boring show. A lot of really long, boring matches, except for the WWE title match. That was actually pretty good. So then we get to Monday Night Raw. Let's get into this Raw review, shall we? So we start the night with this open challenge, this celebration for Bobby Lashley, and then he decides to have an open challenge later in the night, and Drew McIntyre is opposed to this. He wants to accept the open challenge, but Bobby Lashley and MVP are like, no, you and Braun Strowman are ineligible because you lost. It has to be someone else. But it's an open challenge, so apparently they're somewhat ineligible. There's like a loophole. So we already talked about this earlier, that later in the show, Kofi Kingston is the one that accepts the open challenge. He actually beats Bobby Lashley, and you already know how I feel. I'm just like, why? Why is this a thing? Earlier tonight, Kofi Kingston beat Randy Orton, and yeah, that was the thing. Then we had Sheamus beat Ricochet, like I said before, nobody cared. Then we had some more Seattle She-Hulk action. Now with women's tag titles that never had enough actual decent women flavor, as Natalya and Tamina beat Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax in a rematch from this past Friday Smackdown, after Alexa Bliss used her supernatural powers to distract Baszler. What are they doing to Alexa Bliss? What are they trying to do? I mean, they wrote off Bray Wyatt because apparently he's dealing with some mental health struggles, and totally understandable why Bray Wyatt's off TV. So I really hope that he's doing okay. I hope he's in a positive mindset right now, so I hope he's all right. But as for Alexa Bliss, like, what's the end game? What are they trying to do with her, like, right now? Why are we having this slow burn after several months of it? Like, there's just been nothing. There's been nothing since she turned on Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. Shouldn't they be developing on that follow-up at least? There's been nothing since then. Nothing. So then we had Angel Garza beat Drew Gulak in a rematch we've seen, I think, twice in the last 3 weeks. Only this time, instead of shoving up a rose up in Drew Gulak's ass, he shoves it up in his mouth, and I don't care. And yeah, that was pretty much Monday Night Raw for you. Oh yeah, AJ Styles defeated Elias in the opening match by disqualification after Jackson Riker interfered. So that was Monday Night Raw. There, I saved you 3 hours. That's why I did this Raw review, because it was like this was technically your Backlash pay-per-view, Rematchamania, because it was rematches from Backlash and rematches from previous Raws. That was the actual Backlash instead of, WrestleMania Backlash. So I saved you 3 hours of both a useless episode of Raw and a useless long ass review by other reviewers, because honestly it's just rinse and repeat of this match happened in detail, this match I need to tell you this match in detail, and this storyline in detail, and then rant and rave about how terrible it is. It's pretty much all Raw reviews are nowadays. It's gotten to that point, and technically I saved you 3 hours of that. So overall, Backlash sucked, boring as shit, and I get it, people have different tastes and standards, but with the cards and outcome and roads we got to set outcomes this past Sunday, I really don't know how anyone could say this was good or decent. It was boring. Like I was like falling asleep through a good portion of this. Actually, like most of it. The only time I was fully awake was that WWE title match, and it was between three big men, and two of those big men were actually good big men, and two good heavyweights in Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. And I know Roman Reigns won, but the fact that Cesaro was even in that position in the first place is just like, why? So Backlash sucked, and Raw sucked, obviously, but no one should be wasting their time watching it, and especially reviewing it. So, all in all, 2 shit shows in one, and I guess looks like we're heading towards another bad or meh pay-per-view in Hell in a Cell in June, and looks like we're heading towards 5 matches, like Rollins versus Cesaro are guaranteed for the Cell, Bayley versus Bianca in a title rematch, probably Rhea versus Charlotte Flair inside Hell in a Cell because they got to fulfill their agendas, guys. Or we gotta have at least one women's Hell in a Cell match. I don't know who Roman's gonna face at this point because he pretty much has no challengers left, unless they throw some other jobber to him. And I don't know, they might do this. I really don't want this to happen, but they might do it. They might rush this storyline between the Usos and Roman Reigns again. Like, please don't. They just brought Jimmy back into the fold. Don't rush it. Like, I know Jimmy's being a hardhead to the tribal chief, but don't rush it. And you'll probably see Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley inside the Cell to end their feud. Hopefully Bobby will retain, so if Brock Lesnar returns, we can finally get that match at SummerSlam. But all in all, wrestling sucks as a whole, and I don't know, it's just very hard to get excited about most of these things, including the crap that I just talked about with Backlash. Yeah, WrestleMania Backlash, you guys. So that was your Backlash 2021 review and your review of Monday Night Raw for May 17th, 2021. And that was your episode 24 of Very Cold Lasagna. And, well, I hope you got something out of it. So next week, we're going to be going back into that very, very deep old icebox and taking a retro review look at 20 years. It's kind of like technically the 20th anniversary. I know everyone's saying March, I don't remember the date, March 2001 was the start of the invasion, WWF versus WCW and ECW. But no, May 28th 2001 was the actual start of the storyline of WWF versus WCW and ECW. So we're gonna be looking at that next week on the next episode of Very Cold Lasagna. And to be honest, for someone that hasn't seen the invasion that much, and is still looking through it, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm really excited to discuss it with you guys, as a casual fan nowadays. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say in the comments, on Twitter, social media. I'm really looking forward to talking about this invasion storyline 20 years later, as most people would like to say it. But that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Make sure to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. Follow the show at Very Cold Lasagna. Make sure to listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. And listen and watch the show on YouTube. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every episode that comes out. And along with rants, extras, what have you, that are only seen on YouTube. So, unlike this shit show, keep the lasagna very cold and in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports and wrestling in general very cold. And until next time, peace out.